Welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Closet. I'm Deb Russo here with Andrea Montali. Hey,
How's
babe.
it going? Hey.
Good. How are you?
Good.
We have two very special guests here today. We're with the Brownstone Boys, Jordan and Barry. They've been blogging. Hey. They've been blogging the renovation of their 130-year-old brownstone from start to finish. You can find it at thebrownstoneboys.com. And they've made the entire process look very easy. They provide helpful do's and don'ts on renovating and tips for designing on a budget. They also post their articles on brownstoner.com. Articles like why is skim coating plaster so expensive and how to remove decades of paint from woodwork. And they also offer project management services to people who need assistance. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Take a breath after that.
I'm so excited you guys are here. And I had the pleasure of working with you guys on your closets.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So much.
And you've kept it organized. Dre and I always thought that the
We're
process of
trying.
organization is tough for people to continue being organized, but you guys have really kept up with it.
How are you
Well,
loving
fine.
your California closet system?
It is incredible. Literally, Deb, you made our dream come true. It really is just everything that we hope for, plus some. I think we reorganized the closet about like 10 times already, but it's just fun now. Now we're like pulling clothes out, folding them, putting them back in.
It looks
Actually,
pretty.
it's gorgeous.
It's great.
Closet right behind me.
Those doors are beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, they came out so nice. And it actually feels like a walk-in closet to us. You know, we live in New York. We don't have a, walk-in closet that you can, do cartwheels in like some people do. But it really feels like the amount of space that we were able to squeeze out of those little, closets, little reach-in closets, it just made the biggest difference having the organization.
Yeah, we see it a lot with brownstones in Brooklyn and in the city. They're the most charming homes, but the storage space is really lacking. And there's a lot of misconceptions. People will always be like, oh, I don't really need California closets. My closet's too small. And that's so not the case. It's the opposite.
When you need it.
That's
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you
that's
need
like
it.
when you need it. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Tell us about Brownstone Boys. How did you guys come about?
Yeah, so when we got our place in October 2018, it was my first time owning a home, let alone the whole entire process of purchasing one. Barry had purchased a couple others before, but I had so many questions I could not find answers to anywhere. So I told Barry, I was like, we should document this whole entire process. For me, it was like a resource that was missing. So I wanted something that I can have really, really good documentation of the whole entire renovation process in Brooklyn. So I said, Barry, let's start a blog. It's called the Brownstone Boys. And that's where the whole thing began.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. At first we thought, our families and friends will read this and they can keep up with our renovation. That'll be fun. But really quickly, it actually, took off beyond that. And a lot of people were interested in just following the process. Maybe they had renovations of their own they wanted to do, or they, loved the design aspect. And so it really took off quickly. And we get so many messages from people with questions and things like that. It's really fun. It's kind of like a little community.
That's amazing. How does somebody organize a gut renovation? Like, where do you start?
Where do you start? That was the first question that popped into my head too. And I was like, what should I ask? Where do you start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That overwhelms me. And I even know with my clients, when it comes to organizing, designing closet stuff, that's always, people just don't know where to start. So what tips do you have for that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And it's probably, I said a lot of people will reach out and ask questions and things like that. It's probably one of the biggest questions that we get is, I just bought a place. It needs a lot of work. We have no idea where to begin. What should we do? We don't even know. No one's getting back to us. We can't get in touch with anyone. And so it is a lot of work managing an entire renovation process. So I think we estimated we spent like 20 hours a week just managing the process. But getting started is really just getting an idea of what you want to do. We always recommend going on Pinterest, looking at spaces that you like, saving those pins, saving photos of spaces that you like, just so you can get an idea of what you want to communicate to someone at some point. That is, your sort of vision for the space. And so we always recommend that. Take some time, understand what you want, maybe write it down, maybe make a list of each space and what you'd like to do. And then try to get an understanding of what the costs are, because that's probably, unfortunately, for most people, we don't have unlimited renovation budgets, especially in renovating in New York City. So you really need to get an understanding of what the costs are, and that's going to really help fine tune that list of what you can and you can't do. And so what we always do if we're working with a client on this is we do a pretty extensive walkthrough with them. So we'll go through every single space, every single floor of the house, and we'll listen to what they want, what their kind of like hopes and dreams are for the space. And then what we do is help them put together that sort of estimation of what it's going to cost, even though, we're not general contractors. We bring in general contractors. We can still help them understand what those costs look like. And then we can kind of fine tune that list before we bring in the professionals that are going to start, putting that work together. But just getting a clear understanding, trying to get an understanding of the costs and getting some of that stuff down on paper.
Yeah.
It must be hard too with historic homes, and something could possibly go wrong, or there's a new problem you might find during renovation. Like, how do you factor that in?
We just build it into the budget.
You
so
do?
there's,
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's nice about the niche that we sort of fell into with brownstones in Brooklyn is that they're all pretty similar. They're set up the same way. They're made out of the same materials. They tend to have the same hidden things in the walls. I mean, there's always a surprise that we can find, but we can sort of guess what is probably coming when it comes to a brownstone, because they've gone through 130 or 150 years of renovations. The same crazy things have been done to them, throughout the decades. And so we can kind of expect, what's coming. And when we hear what the client wants, we sort of know what we might find in the wall. So we definitely have to build that in. And there's a lot of things with restoration work that come into play outside of just the normal stuff. So there's probably woodwork that needs to be restored. There's probably layers upon layers upon layers of paint that needs to be stripped. There's structural stuff that has to be done. So there's a lot of things that may fall outside of the normal sort of like building work that we have to take into consideration as well.
I was just thinking about you saying all the different layers of paint. I lived in Brooklyn for a bit with my best friend, and it wasn't a brownstone, but it was an old Brooklyn building in Williamsburg, very Italian neighborhood. And the people who lived there their whole life. And when we moved in together, we were pulling up linoleum, like tiles from the floor.
Yeah.
And we picked up 16 layers.
Wow.
So it was
my goodness.
all different patterns, probably that were there since like the 20s. I don't know. But we were laughing. We're like, we should write a book of our friendship and call it 16 Layers of Linoleum. But
it's so cool. Like now dealing with all these renovations and just seeing the history inside these buildings. For us, like one of the most special moments was we did all the wood stripping in our place. And we were talking layers and layers and layers and layers of white paint. But the more that we stripped it, all these colors unfolded. And we seriously had every single color in the rainbow on this banister that we were stripping at the time. It was just incredible.
There's a mint green. There was like a hot pink.
It was really?
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Go ahead, Deb.
I loved your tip about finding a GC who can tackle multiple projects to limit subcontractors, and that must really keep communication with everyone a little more organized. How does somebody go about finding a contractor? Because like I have clients who've either have really good contractors or have had horrible contractors, and the horror stories go on for days. So like, what are some of your tips for finding the right fit for you?
We always recommend, I mean, this might be kind of tough if you don't necessarily have this, but we always recommend starting with referrals. Ask around. If you have friends that have good contractors, get their information from them. And, that's the best thing that you can find out is that people who've gone through the process with them and they can speak to that. So that's the first place I would start, is to ask for referrals. People reach out to us all the time asking for contractor referrals because they're in the same boat. They have work they want to do. They can't find someone. A lot of people, contractors, it's tough to even get started with them because they don't get back to you, or they don't show up for the appointments. And of course, those are really big red flags. But we always recommend ask around, get a list of referrals, maybe, do some research as well. In Brooklyn, Brownstoner is a really good tool to use to find, where if you don't know someone who has used a contractor, you can find recommendations there as well. And have a bunch of walkthroughs with them. Sometimes we'll go through, we've vetted a lot of our contractors now, but we'd go through sometimes 5 contractors in a space. And every time you walk through with one, all over the place. Yeah.
All over the place.
But every time you walk through with one, you learn something new about your own space that no one else brought up. You're like, oh, no one even said that. So by the time you walk through with 5 people, you pretty much have a good idea of what needs to be done, and you have quotes all over the map to start understanding what everything costs.
And I think it's great that your clients have you guys, because you can really be on top of the project management aspect of it. So when you are managing, are you the ones reaching out to the contractors and setting up the appointments? What is the process of that?
Yeah, we are. We have we work with the client from the very beginning of the renovation all the way until the finishes are complete. Everything is brought into their place. And the reason behind that is, we bring in a team of contractors, architects. And for me, when I first purchased our home, I didn't have any experience not dealing with an architect, the contractor language. I just didn't know anything about that. So you learn through bringing in multiple people. I learned, after talking to our 5th contractor, of being like, okay, this is what the range is going to be for this air conditioner and what that entails, what that scope of work looks like. So fortunately that we're in this position that we can bring in, these 5 contractors, these 4 architects. If the client has a referral from another architect, we'll bring them in and make sure they're in the price range of the budget of the customer.
That's awesome.
We bring in that's one of the things that I think that is really helpful for people is one of the biggest stresses is finding that right team. Potentially finding the wrong person is just a disaster for a project. If you have the wrong architect or the wrong general contractor, or even some of the smaller stuff that you're doing, it really could derail the project. So, we work with a few architects, we work with a few general contractors, we work with all the specialists that come in and do all of the wood and the plaster and all the stuff that sometimes falls outside of the general contractor's skill set. We can bring in that team. That's where I think we're able to help out a lot.
Awesome. How do you come up with the timeline? I always think of that movie. Did you ever watch that movie, Money Pit, with Tom Hanks?
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, Jordan, you have to watch it. And they keep bringing in contractors.
My quarantine list.
I'm with you.
Oh, the house I think is still for sale. It's in Nassau County.
Wow.
It's in Laddington, but it was such a good movie. And every contractor that came through said, oh, just 2 weeks. It'll take 2 weeks. It'll take 2 weeks.
Lies.
Lies.
I know. And I know you need to assume everything gets delayed. And I'm guessing you must factor that in. I don't know. How do you make a timeline for people?
That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, we set the expectations clear with the client from the very beginning. It's an HGTV kind of world nowadays, and everybody thinks that overnight they're going to have this immaculate place. So we really thoroughly walk them through the process and explain to them how many months we're looking at for this. And then, we always add an extra month just because more than likely it's going to need that extra month. But we just set the expectation from the beginning and let them know that it is going to take quite some time. But we let them know of the process and make sure that they have a full understanding of why it's going to take 7 months as opposed to the 2 weeks that they think.
And I think it just goes back to kind of knowing where those delays are going to be. We're dealing with the city of New York and getting things approved and getting things inspected. And we know that there are going to be delays in certain areas. And so we build in that extra time. And I think that's a really important place also to think about finding the right team. Because a lot of projects are delayed because the contractor just doesn't show up, that happens all the time for people. So knowing that you have a team that is going to be there and you trust them to get the job done on time, I think is another big factor. But there's just a lot of things that are out of control. Right now, a couple of our projects are on hold because of because of the restrictions that are in place for the quarantine. So that's something that we could not have planned for. But there's also ways that we can make up time, in the remaining months of the renovation. So hopefully we can make some of that up as well.
How many projects do you work on at once? Like how many clients can you juggle at one time?
That's a really good question, and we're still kind of figuring that
I was
out.
nervous to ask that.
Oh, sorry.
I was
I'm just gonna ask.
in my head, no, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, right now, and there's projects are at various stages, right? So some of them are in full swing construction, some of them just in planning. It takes 2 or 3 months to go through architectural and design and stuff, get city approval. So, we're thinking probably 6 or 7. We actually have right now 7 projects that are, signed up and started.
That's great.
Nice.
And it is true, like this not downtime, but the quarantine time, it's a good time to like be researching products. Sorry, there's an ambulance going by. Welcome to New York.
Yeah.
But it's a good time, I guess, to like research furniture, product. Like there's things that you can definitely be working on.
Absolutely.
Right now.
There's so many things that you can be working on. I don't know if
we're actually
I don't know if you heard that
now this week than we have been the previous weeks with the contractors, just because, like you said, we're utilizing this time to catch up on all the finishes and all the product lists and making sure that that's all on schedule.
Are you doing virtual consultations at all?
We are. Yeah, a lot of the finishing companies, have all switched to virtual consultations. So we're, so now we're setting up a consultation to talk to them first, make sure that they're fit within the budget, and then we set up the call with the virtual consultation with the client as well.
So let's talk. Sorry, Deb, go ahead. You have a question?
Oh, no, I have so many questions.
I know, me too. I was just like starting to get curious a little bit about your process for your home, because it's so beautiful and I've been following it on Instagram, and I'm just curious, where did you guys get the inspiration from for your renovation?
Yeah. So I've been a huge fan of Pinterest from way back in the day, and I've always have pinned items for the home, for my dream home. And I was lucky that we were able to utilize that source to kind of complete our renovation. Pinterest is such an incredible source of finding inspiration, finding finishes that you just love. It kind of educated us about brands that, aren't in New York City, that are like, let's say in California, fire clay tile. I just have been obsessed with them, but it's all through the power of Pinterest. So it's kind of a nice shopping cart for us to kind of use and utilize.
I always recommend it as an organizing tool, because you can really, you can create so many different boards and sections, and I always recommend it, even for organizing. Like, let's put your dream closet pictures together. Let's put kitchen pictures together and make that come to life. So I totally agree.
We actually ask all of our clients to do that. That's they ask, in our first meeting with them, what can they be doing, after we talk. And that's what we would love them to do, is start getting a clear picture of how they visualize each space, and using Pinterest and saving things in boards. This is a really, really great way to do that. And we did that. And that sometimes for people, starts way before the renovation even begins. Maybe even before they started looking for a place, they understood what they wanted the kitchen to look like. And so we had really clear, for our place, I think we had a very specific inspiration photo for each space. And we sort of built our kitchen based on that inspiration photo with some tweaks here and there. But if we put our kitchen, let's say, next to our kitchen inspiration photo, our master bath next to our master bath inspiration photo, they're pretty similar. We followed it to a T, and it really helped us simplify the design choices.
Awesome.
Very cool.
We just released an episode about efficiency and just how to work more efficiently when it comes to work in our everyday lives. And you guys gave a great tip about finding projects that can be done before demolition begins, so you can get the ball rolling. And that's a great way. If you can do things on your own, that's a great way, obviously, to keep the cost down. What kind of projects can people do before demo and like waiting on permits? Like, what kind of stuff did you guys do?
So the budget is first and foremost. That spreadsheet, I'm a spreadsheet kind of guy. I love a good spreadsheet. And it's the perfect opportunity for you just to kind of sit home and gather costs, getting all those bids together from the contractors, all those 5 contractors, putting in a spreadsheet, kind of compare, see, okay, if this is going to cost this amount, I have this amount to, use towards finishes or towards a beautiful garden or a deck that you want to maybe add onto your space. And once you have kind of an idea of costs, from there you can start plugging in the cost of finishes. Your bath, are you going to get your high level bath, or are you going to get the low medium grade, you know, hopeful that that will fit in the overall cost of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also kind of tough, like if you're following your project, if it's extensive enough that you're going through city approval, you really can't do much before demo. There's only certain things that you can actually do. So for us, one of the biggest things that we'll do, especially in a brownstone, is the paint stripping. We can have someone go in and we can have someone strip all the paint off the wood. It's actually a great thing to do because you don't really want to be in there when it's happening. So the contractors don't want to be in there when it's happening. And everyone, all the people who do the paint stripping are like in gas masks basically while they do it. And so it's a really good thing to get out of the way. Things like, you know, repointing bricks. There's things that can happen before demo. And so we always try to get those done because there's a good couple of months of downtime where we're doing a lot of design, a lot of architecture work, but we can't necessarily get in and start swinging hammers necessarily.
Gotcha.
So I have a few organizing questions. One of them is how, at what stage of the process for you did you start incorporating closets and storage solutions? Like how, and also how important was that in your design?
Yeah, for me, it was of most importance. Prior to living in the Brownstone, I lived in a 500 square foot apartment. And I woke up every single morning to my open closet, didn't even have doors on it. So it was kind of traumatic. And I knew that if I had now had my dream home, that I was wanting a beautiful closet, something that I can hide my suitcases in, something that I can put away everything, have organized, and know exactly where everything is. So for me, it was really important. And I kept stressing to Barry that I wanted it done it at the very early phase. And he said, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I have to give it a couple more months. We have to give it a couple more months. But I knew I wanted that perfect closet.
Were there already a lot of closets in your brownstone that you repurposed, or did you have to actually add them into your architectural plans?
We had to add them into the architecture. I mean, they were in kind of like different places, and some of them were weird. And you know, again, this place went through a lot of renovations, and a couple of them were kind of like really bad renovations, and that included like some of the bedroom walls and you know closets. So it's an early conversation. It was an early conversation for us, and it is with our clients as well, because it's part of designing the space. So if they want a walk-in, or if they have room for one, or if they don't have room for one, how are we gonna make sure they have enough closets? And all that has to be drawn on the plans. And another place that's really important is in the kitchen. We talk to a lot of people that want a lot of open shelves in their kitchen, which is beautiful, but where are you going to put stuff? And so we need to find, like, you know, if we're going to have an open shelf, maybe we should have this wall over here that's more of a pantry. And so it's definitely part of the conversation from, I would say, the first walkthrough that we have.
You guys, oh, sorry, one second. You
Yeah.
guys had posted so much on your Instagram, and I wanted to say before that it's so fun watching your Instagram and your stories, because you reach out to all your followers asking for even designs, like what's your input, like this lamp in the bathroom, or this one, not lamp, but the sconces, or you know, the chairs, or like you guys were doing a purge, should we keep this, keep that? And it's so much fun because then you can vote and then you see what everyone's answers are. I love that. And you guys were even posting about storage, and I reached out to you guys. I'm like, when am I coming over to your closet?
Well, it's the power of social media. I mean, just like Pinterest, I mean, Instagram and all social media is such a powerful source. And think about all the amazing, I mean, through our renovation, we were connected with you and other incredible designers that, I mean, we're just so much more skilled than we are. So opening that up and also using the hashtags, I mean, for us, it was almost as useful as Pinterest was. You know, everything from our cast iron tub we found through a hashtag search, all the way through like an open kitchen. So it is a powerful source to use.
Did you do a big purge before? I always wonder when it's a good time for purging to come into play. Should you do a big purge before you start thinking about storage? A lot of times when people bring me in, they're already living somewhere and need help with that after the fact. But in my head, I always think, oh, before you move, you should really do all this stuff. Or before you design your closets, like really get familiar with your inventory, see what you need, see what you love, and get rid of the rest. And then your design sometimes changes. So I'm just curious if that was something you guys did, or did you already sort of know your
We've
inventory?
repurposed a lot of inventory or a lot of our other furnishings, but there were certain items that we purged on. Like we knew we wanted a new couch. Our couch would have been fine, our previous one, but we know we had this beautiful living room now. We needed a beautiful new couch. So there were certain items that we purged on, while the other ones we were very mindful and tactful of where we, kind of repurposed.
And I am all about the purge. Like I happen to move a lot. It was just kind of like buying different places and selling them, or just moving different apartments. Every time I move, I like throw away so much stuff. I donate trash bags full of clothes, just because if I don't wear it in a year, like when am I going to wear it? When will I ever pull that out? So I try to limit stuff as much as possible. And Jordan's really, really good. He just sort of like lives that way all the time and doesn't have like a lot of clutter and a lot of stuff. So yeah, I think it's something that's always good to do. And I think that, we definitely did it before we thought really about the kind of storage that we need, because it gave us a clearer picture of the stuff that we needed to store and how much. I remember, Deb, when you were over and we were thinking about our closets and thinking about how much hanging space we needed, it was like a long conversation about how many feet of hanging space is that? How many feet of hanging space do we need? And so we definitely put that like forethought into it, so we didn't end up, with too cluttered of a closet or not enough space, and then everything just feels, kind of disjointed. But it's definitely something that we thought about often, like early in the process, during the process, and that way it was easier once we put everything together.
I think that's such a great tip, and I really recommend anyone listening, if you're going to be planning a renovation, I definitely agree with all of this. I think at the end of the day, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Cool.
I was talking to Andrea before about, we released an episode yesterday about picking out wallpaper in bold colors and how throw the rules out the window, the size of the space doesn't matter. And you guys had an artist come into the guest room. The guest room was a little on the smaller side and had that huge mural painted. It came out so beautiful. We have to have that girl on. We'll talk about that later. But
oh yeah, she's amazing.
It completely changes the room.
Yeah, well, you know what? That room is interesting because, if you're familiar with Brooklyn brownstones, they're long and skinny, right? They're like 18 or 20 feet wide, and they're like 40 feet long. So, yeah. Right? So it gives you like room in the center, especially upstairs in the bedroom area, where you don't really have access to windows. So our middle guest bedroom doesn't actually have a window. It has a huge skylight because it has to, because of city requirements to meet like for, air and ventilation and stuff. But it gives it a lot of light, which is amazing, but it doesn't give it a view at all. And so we tried to give it a view and tried to make it feel bigger with this huge mural on the wall, and it came out really beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Check out the Instagram page for those pics. So nice.
Yeah. I had one more question too. So I'm always interested in learning about new technology or new apps that help maybe manage projects, for example, or renovations. Is there anything that you guys have been using that you've discovered and think everyone should know about?
You know what I really, really love messing around with and just playing around with on my phone? Even for our project, we use it a lot, and we use it for clients' projects. There's apps where you can put your layout together and your design for your house, like to scale. There's one that we use, and it's free. There's one called Magic Plan that's free. There's upgrades you can do and pay for in it as well. But if you just want to use it to, put your design together and figure out where the bathroom is going to be and how much room you have for it and where you want the kitchen to be. And it's a really awesome way when we're talking about how to begin the process. It's a really great way to get your thoughts together so that you can communicate those thoughts to us, if you're a project manager or your architect or your general contractor, whoever's doing the work, by having those little floor plans put together. So Magic Plan, Key Plan is another one that's really cool.
Homes Data as well too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Homes Data for project management and budget management, and things like that. What other technology?
I mean, good old Google Docs.
Yeah.
They're pretty much for
We
everything.
use Google Sheets too for all our
All the
podcast
time.
episodes. It's just easy, saves easily.
Exactly. It
Um,
helps keep organized.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. We use a good old Google Sheet for our payment tracker and budget tracker for all of our clients, everything they pay for their general contractors, the specialists, the architects, and that's how we keep track of all of that. So they have access to it, we have access to it, and it's just the easiest way to do it. But so sometimes there's an app for it, and sometimes it's good old fashioned spreadsheets.
Very cool. Well, thank you for that. It's funny you said Magic Plan. I literally just downloaded that 2 days ago, but I haven't played around with it yet. But I was trying to see if I can do closet layouts for people, but not from necessarily that I'm trying to design closets, but I'd like to kind of show clients where I would place bins and baskets and even put notes to give them just a plan of what the vision would be. So I'm excited to mess around and see if I can do that on Magic Plan.
I think it will work out for you. Yeah, it sounds like it will be perfect.
Thanks. Great. So any other questions, Deb, that you have?
I think we hit it.
Is there anything else you guys want to share with us that we didn't touch on?
I would say that it is really like I've done a couple of renovations in the past, and I love it more and more with every one that I've done. I know this was Jordan's first when we went through our process. Home renovation. He's done, renovations and building for past jobs and managing projects for past jobs, but it's fun. It's exciting. It's really, really great way to customize your space and really, get what you want out of where you spend a lot of time, which is at your house, especially right now.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's a really cool process, and I would just encourage anyone who's thinking about renovating or wondering, should we buy a place that's done already, or should we buy a place that needs work and have it done? I would always opt to have it done, and do it the way we want it. So it's a fun process, and it's exciting to go through.
And something I have a clear understanding now is that while you're going to have a finish line, there really is never a finish line. And with these historic homes, you're always going to have a project to work on. And I think that's what keeps it fun and exciting. Just because, now that we finished our gorgeous renovation of the kitchens, the bathrooms, now we get to look forward to the backyard renovation and cleaning up our basement. So there's always going to be projects along the way. So you always have a renovation to work on.
We always say it's 95% done, and it's probably where it's always going to be.
It's always going to be.
Yeah.
I loved the post you guys did about you found the original pocket doors to the house when you were doing renovations.
Yeah.
Did you guys
first day of demo?
That's amazing. Did you keep them?
They're in our basement right now. We were going to repurpose them in the Brownstone, but there's really no place to put them. So we're thinking of a project to do one of these days. We're going to get to it.
We
definitely are going to do something with them. Yeah, I know, it was so cool that they were in the wall, and it's great because our place, although it does have a lot of really historical, original features, there's so much that's gone. There's so much that's missing. The fireplaces were taken out. Probably see this big white wall behind me if you're looking at the video. A lot of the pocket doors and the original doors were taken out. Some of them were still here. And so of course we restored whatever we could, but it was just so nice to find that extra little piece of the history of the place that we didn't really realize was there when we first walked through.
What's the craziest, I know you said before that you were finding stuff in walls. What's the craziest thing you found when you demoed a wall?
We found a Pepsi bottle from, I think, like 1970.
That's cool.
It was crazy. It was, we should have kept it. I don't know why we did it, but yeah, it was definitely one of the old contractors, like way back in time. There was a Pepsi bottle stored in there. We also found what was that buried in the backyard that we found? It was like a pipe from
the unknown.
Yeah.
We don't even know what it was. It's like some kind of little pipe system they had in the backyard that we're still trying to figure it out. But some of it's kind of cool. It's like these big drum things that we saved, and we're going to make some planners out of. So we'll see. But yeah, there's always a surprise. I mean, there's things closed up in the walls, probably still things we haven't found closed up in the walls. There's nice contractor surprises, like where they cut through a joist completely for some reason. Like we don't need those in the house. And we have to go back and fix those. There's always those kind of surprises too.
Wow, that's cool.
So we have a few questions from Instagram followers. So this week we posted, ask the Brownstone Boys anything you'd like about renovation. So I just wanted to share a couple of questions that we got as responses. So one question is, what do you recommend? Hold on. How do you transition floors from one room to the next seamlessly?
Ooh.
So the first line of defense in that way is to have one floor that flows from room to room. I think that's really important in a renovation. So it's one of the things where if there's some things that you can do and it might cost a little extra, it is something that will make your space feel so much better, so that you have sort of one plane of flooring that you transition from room to room. In a restoration, that gets a little difficult in a bathroom. If you're adding a bathroom where there wasn't originally one, you might have a little step up. So you can always put a door saddle there, and it makes sense. We have some nice Carrara marble door saddles for our bathrooms, and so that's a nice way to make the transition. And if you can't do that, if you are dealing, let's say you have original floors in one room and you just do not want to get rid of those original floors, which we don't blame you, we'd keep them too, but another room next to that, you don't have that option, then you can always have a door saddle, and you can make that look nice as well. And at least you keep those original floors in place. But first and foremost, I would say, take those extra few steps if you can to make sure it's one plane of flooring. But if you can't, there's really great ways to just have a door saddle so that you transition from room to room.
Thank you. Next question, bathtub or no bathtub?
Bathtub. I'm bathtub. I know people love a good walk-in shower, but if you do have the option, you have that second bathroom just for resale purposes, we always recommend putting in a bathtub.
Yeah, right. I was wondering that for resale, I'm sure a bathtub is, something that you need.
Yeah, and it's funny, I have said this, I can't even count how many times. I have always, for my entire life, every single place I've ever lived in my life has always only had a bathtub with a shower situation where you have to step in and out of the bathtub to take a shower. And I never take baths. So I've been stepping in and out of bathtubs for my life for absolutely no reason. This is the first time we have a bathroom in my life that I've had a bathroom where I can just walk into the shower, and it's a beautiful, like, double walk-in shower, which is amazing. But the answer to the question is both. Like, if you don't have the option, if you only have one bathroom, I would probably do a tub, because you never know if you need it. You never know if you want to sell the place. But if you have a couple of bathrooms, then absolutely put that shower in one and put the tub in the other. And ironically, we love the bathtub now as well. So we have a beautiful
Yeah, Barry
bathroom,
did use the bathtub for the first time last week.
This is great. Why don't I do that?
And how much do you love it?
Well, it's also new and yours. I just always get, I don't know, even in hotels and stuff, like, I don't know, bathtubs always freak me out a little bit. But
if you are repurposing a bathtub, like if there is an original cast iron in there that you want to use, or a clubfoot, excuse me, go ahead and reglaze it. It's not that expensive, and it just feels like a completely new bathtub.
Absolutely.
Great. So someone also sent, where do you start? Which I know we talked about this earlier. So yeah, is there anything else you'd want to add to that, or just like a quick short answer?
Get your thoughts together, download Magic Plan, put in all your dimensions, play with your floor plan, get your Pinterest boards set for each space. And I would even say, just one more tip there, don't save 137 kitchen photos. That's not going to help. That's not going to help you to sort of like narrow the choices down. Save a few, save a lot maybe, and then narrow that down, or find your favorite 3, I would say. And if you can find your
elements you
one,
like from each one. Yeah.
Yeah, find your favorite 3 or 4 where you have elements you like from each one of those. And if you can narrow it down to 1, even better. But don't overwhelm yourself with too many saved kitchen and bathroom photos, because then you're probably in worse shape than you may have been without it.
Great. Thank you. And I'm torn between investing in one piece of art versus doing gallery style walls. What do you recommend?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I love a gallery wall. I think they're really, really beautiful. It's kind of a nice way of keeping several mementos and just having it one place to have all those moments. But if you look behind Barry, and those that are just seeing the video, unfortunately, you might not be able to see this, but I love repurposing art. This was a piece of art that I made like years ago. I want to say like 2002. And it's just been sitting in the basement. So if you have that piece, I love incorporating like one piece of art in any of the spaces that has special meaning to it. And we put this in our tiny room.
Yeah, and I say if you're in a situation where you have to choose between both, I would say, you know, try to figure out a way to incorporate more than one thing. So if you have a certain amount of budget, I wouldn't necessarily say put it in one piece of art. But do the gallery wall, maybe like Jordan said, repurpose a piece of art or find something vintage or used where you can have kind of like an eclectic mix of things rather than putting everything kind of like all your eggs in one basket.
Perfect. Thank you. Those were great. Deb, do you have any other questions?
No, I wanna gut renovate my apartment.
I know. My wheels are definitely spinning. I'm looking at this wall behind.
Yeah.
Great. So lastly, we just wanted to play a quick little game.
Fun.
Ooh, we love games. We're going to talk a little bit about closets, and I have 3 quick questions to ask each of you. So tell us one thing that you love in your closet, one thing that you're embarrassed to own but you will never give away, and one thing you think the other person should throw out.
Okay.
Hopefully not causing any argument.
I know, there's gonna be a domestic dispute now.
Okay. Okay, who's going first?
I have a flannel shirt that I got at a vintage store. I want to say my junior year of high school. And it has been with me through so much, and I refuse to get rid of it. It has holes in everywhere in it. And I just love it so much, and I can't get rid of it. I know, Deb, don't hate me.
Hey,
I can never
as
hate
Marie
you.
Kondo says, if it sparks joy,
Yes.
let it
Oh,
rock,
sparks
you
so
know?
much joy.
What about the other 2?
Oh, so Barry has a pair of black jeans that have holes in it everywhere, and he's really bad about folding clothes.
So bad.
Sorry, Barry.
No,
And our closets are usually open. They're actually right behind me, and they're closed right now, but they're usually always open. And it's the one thing in his side of the closet that I always see are those black jeans. And every morning I'm like, oh, let me just throw those in the trash. But then I think about my shirt, and I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Great.
And the one thing I'm probably embarrassed to say is, especially now with all this Tiger King stuff, I have this lion shirt. It is bright purple, and I love it so much. And it's prominent in the closet, and I'll probably open them up so you can see it. But it's full on cheetah print, like bright purple shirt, and I love it so much. It's embarrassing though.
Pretty wild. So what I love in my closet and the one that I'm embarrassed about is it's a little boring actually, but it's these pair of pants that I got in Stockholm a really, really long time ago that I absolutely love, and I've tried to find pants that are similar to them, and I cannot anyway. I even tried to order the same pants from the same company, and I can't even do that. So I still have these pants. I love them, but they have like weird spots on them now that I can't get out, and I also haven't washed them in a really long time, which is the embarrassing part because I'm afraid that it's going to just completely ruin them and they're going to shrink up and I'm never going to be able to wear them again. So that's my favorite thing and the thing I'm most embarrassed about because I can't even tell you last time I washed them.
Awesome.
And then the thing that I wish Jordan would get rid of is definitely that crazy tiger King
Never.
purple, and it's like he puts it on and he wants to wear it.
I'm gonna get it.
Sometimes like, what about today? What about for this? And it never happens.
What about today?
Oh, by the way, this is the gorgeous closet that Deb designed.
Love it.
So because we are still,
his.
sorry, I just wanted to interrupt for a second. So because we are still quarantined, we're recording this episode via Zoom. So we're going to release also on IGTV some clips from today. So we'll definitely put these closet pics up and the cheetah shirt.
This is Zuko, our adorable lab.
So cute.
Oh, no,
So cute.
I'm having bad.
I know you froze a little bit.
Oh no, you're frozen.
There you are.
No.
Oh.
There I am. Okay.
Wait
So
a
this
moment.
is Zuko. He is our lab. I feel bad for all the parents in the world right now because now I have an understanding. But okay.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it has like actual cheetah faces. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like
That's Joe Exotic.
yeah.
Or Carol Baskin.
Or Carol.
I think Carol Baskin would totally borrow that.
They're both nuts, right?
And it will always be in the closet.
Yeah, I love that you picked the oil rub bronze poles. I love that you brought those on.
Yeah.
They look so good. Awesome.
Well, thanks for showing us your closet. It looks beautiful.
Oh, Jordan's first. There he is.
Okay, there you are. Sorry. Great. So thank you so much, guys. This is amazing. We're so happy to have you on. Maybe you'll be on again in the future. We could talk about more renovation stuff.
Of course.
Yeah. And like I said before, we're going to release this episode via iTunes, Spotify, every, podcast system that we're on. And also we're going to be releasing clips on IGTV as well.
So exciting. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for coming. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so our blog is go ahead.
The blog is thebrownstoneBoys.com, and IG is at Brownstone Boys.
Great.
Awesome.
I definitely recommend reading their blog. I was saying before we started the call that I went into like a deep hole of reading all their blog posts the other day, and I just found them so informative. So
a deep hole.
What is that saying? A black hole? I don't know.
A black hole? Yeah, no, it's funny. A hole.
Just a hole.
A tunnel, maybe? I think tunnel. One of those. A dark place of binge reading blog posts. So
amazing. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we'll talk to you
Yeah, you guys
soon.
are so fun. Thanks a lot.
Yay, thank you. Bye.
Pleasure. Have a great
Bye, guys.
Be safe. Bye, everyone.
Bye.